everybody. Welcome to the Random Redshirt podcast. I am Zach, one of the hosts, and the other host, as always, who's laughing at me, is Chris. What's up, buddy?
Hello, Zach, my dear friend. That was an excellent. I was not expecting the deep voice. That was
You weren't
perfect.
expecting me to go low, huh?
That was perfect.
We
Yeah.
must for this episode.
Yeah, absolutely. We are in October, the month of Halloween, so it's great. You've got your lights turned down. I've got my friend with me. It's hello everyone, like around the world, the interwebs. I'm
Yeah.
assuming, yeah, it's gonna be good.
Yes. Welcome to a special edition of the Random Redshirt podcast. We are doing our prep for Halloween here on the show. Now, we did this a couple years ago. You can find that episode anywhere you get your podcast. There's no video version of this, but we decided we wanted to kind of do an update. There's going to be probably a lot of overlap from the last one, but I maybe most of you or some of you didn't listen to that. So consider this your Halloween prep and your um, chance to get some tips from us as far as what great things you can watch that are science fiction as we get closer and closer to Halloween and this fall time. Now, if you're in another country, all over the globe or the interwebs, you may not celebrate Halloween, but you also know this is kind of that time of year. It's late October. We're getting into it. And when this episode does premiere, this will be about the same week as Halloween. It'll come out the same week. So we're only a few days at the time of this premiering from Halloween. And we wanted to give you our list of creepy and spooky episodes of science fiction and science fiction movies to get you all ready for this time of year. So we're looking forward to it.
Yeah, this will be fun. Full disclaimer. I'm not I get scared pretty easily in movies, like scary movies. So, it's light scary for me,
Yeah.
right? So, yeah, yeah,
I,
won't
I'm
go.
a I'm a suspense. I'm more of a suspenseful kind of person. I'm not into the horror genre. I don't watch, like you said, Chris. I don't really watch the scary movies either. I do like suspenseful movies. Like, did you ever see that movie What Lies Beneath with Harrison Ford and Michelle Pfeiffer?
I did watch that movie,
Yeah. See,
and
that's
that
my
was
kind.
scary. Yeah.
Let's see, that's my kind of like suspenseful movie. Like, I'm not really. I don't get into the whole Freddy Krueger and all the gory horror.
Okay.
I don't mind the original, like the very first Halloween movie with Jamie Lee Curtis from like 1970 something. To me,
Hmm.
that's like more suspenseful. It's less gore. I don't gory and horror doesn't really do it for me. It's just like, okay, yep, blood, yep, okay, God. That's not scary. That's just gross to me.
I gotcha. I mean,
So I
I
like suspenseful stuff.
yeah, yeah. My wife loves horror movies.
Oh,
But
does
that's,
she?
yeah, each to their
I
own.
didn't know
Yeah,
that.
yeah. Do you ever see the Ring? The Ring
No,
movie?
I didn't see The Ring. No.
Oh
Does she like
yeah,
that
that was.
movie?
I have to ask her again. I remember. I mean, that was a very, very scary movie for me. That was like, oh, you know,
Yeah.
after that, just yeah, it's just hard to go to sleep after that movie.
Yeah, there's definitely a lot out there to choose from. So, if you are like us and you are listening or watching this and you are not into the gory horror, like, traditional like Halloween, spooky, creepy stuff, this is for you because we have some great recommendations on our list here for movies and episodes of science fiction that you can watch this time of year that aren't going to send you shivering underneath the covers as you hide from the boogeyman, but rather it's just going to give you a nice, fun, suspenseful, maybe a little bit creepy type stuff. There are a few things on here that maybe you shouldn't watch, but in general, this is all stuff you probably watch all throughout the year. And we think it's befitting this time of year to go ahead and watch this. So we look forward to giving you your quintessential list of science fiction movies and TV shows that will be great watches for you as we get closer and closer to Halloween time. If you, observe Halloween or have trick-or-treaters, or even if you don't, it's
Hmm.
still fun stuff you can watch any time of the year. That'd be a lot of fun. So
Yeah,
we
most
look
excellent.
forward to that. Yeah, we definitely look forward to that. So that being said, Chris, why don't we start out really quickly, if you don't mind, just kind of sharing with our listeners and our watchers some of the kind of the origins of where Halloween came from and how we kind of got to this point in the United States of celebrating this. I guess you'd call it a holiday.
Holiday, yeah. Yeah, well, Halloween, according to some sources that we've looked at, is a long-standing tradition that originated with the ancient Celtic festival of Samhain. So this was when people would light bonfires and wear costumes to ward off ghosts, which makes sense, right? In the 18th century, or excuse me, the 8th century, Pope Gregory III designated November 1 as a time to honor all saints. Um, which is interesting because November 1 is also Los Dias de Muerte, right? The Day of the Dead. And soon All Saints Day incorporated some of the traditions of Samhain. And the evening before was known as All Hallows Eve and later became known as Halloween. And then over time, Halloween evolved into our present day, where we've got a lot of activities like trick or treating, of course, carving all of the jack o' lanterns, wrapping all of the festivities into fall, festive gatherings, and donning costumes and eating treats. And it is a favorite pastime of children like all around, just loving Halloween and having a chance to dress up in their favorite costumes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
even as an adult, I like the eating the treats part. Because so okay,
Yeah.
let's kind of clear the air here for a second because we have to realize that it seems like Halloween and Easter and Christmas are three holidays that somehow got turned into candy galore and treats galore. And I kind of feel like that, and in good business practice, that candy companies kind of took advantage of those times and just made the holidays about their candies.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, think about how much more money candy companies make around Halloween because they make their candy pieces smaller and individually wrapped. I mean, and it's have you seen the prices of trick or treat candy now? Like the individual
Yeah.
it's
Yeah. It's a
insane.
lot. It's a lot. So
It's
yeah, I mean, I don't know about your house, but we're gonna have to start loading up with the trick or treat candy. And it's almost like you gotta save up some money so you can
safe
get
up.
the trick or treat candy. And then when Halloween comes and the trick or treaters start coming, then it's in my mind, I'm thinking, I'm looking at the bowl of candy and I'm going, I've got to kind of ration this out because like it's gonna run out like fast. And so I can't, I'd like to be able to give like, multiple pieces of candy, but it's like, no, I can't because I can't like we can't afford like as much candy as all of the trick-or-treaters that are going to come. So yeah, indeed, it is expensive now. Expensive.
Yeah, well, it really is. Where we moved, we're in a newer part of this housing area the
Ah.
housing complex, and so because of that, I don't think. I mean, the kids are gonna go out trick or treating, so we won't be home anyways. But I don't think we get a lot of trick or treaters anyways, because half the side one side of our street has a bunch of like dirt and empty spots. So,
Gotcha.
I mean, there's enough houses around that there would, but I don't know how many like kids and stuff live around. There's some that live around, but. Um, yeah, but it is. I see people that still hand out full size candy bars.
Yeah, that's amazing to be able
That's
to
expensive.
yeah, yeah. That's the house that everyone would want to go to if you're handing out full-size candy bars. Yeah.
Yeah. The last place we lived, we had a heart doctor that lived near us, and he would hand out
Ooh.
a lot of candy. I'm like, well, I mean, he gets a new car every year, so I guess candy's the least of his worries. But yeah, it's pretty wild. Like the cost of candy and the candy companies have got to be rolling in the money this time of year because of just the way because they just repackage the same candy into smaller sizes and individually wrap it. And it's anyways, I don't want to get off on a
Yeah,
tangent about candy. It's not what we're here for.
it's
We're
all
here to
good.
talk, but we're here to talk about science fiction, creepy, spooky stuff that you can watch to get you in the mood for Halloween time.
That's right. All
So
Hallows Eve.
yeah,
Yeah.
without sounding too cheesy and corny. So yeah, Chris, let's get into it. Let's well, I mean, our namesake. Let's start with Star Trek. We've got a lot of episodes of Star Trek
Mhm.
written down that we think are perfect for this
Oh,
time of year to watch. You watch them all year round if you're a Star Trek fan, so it's not as if these are Halloween specific, but they certainly do contain enough spooky, creepy stuff in them that are really good to kind of single out and watch this time of year.
mhm. A couple from the original series that just always, always that I remember, just watching in syndication, watching growing up, and uh, had like a big impact that's connected to Halloween. One is Cat's Paw, and I remember like in Cat's Paw, it was kind of all of those Halloween tropes rolled into one episode, which was which was funny. I mean, you had a cat, you had a black cat, you've got a dungeon, you've got skeletons. I liked it, and then I think if I'm not mistaken, you even had the Enterprise shrunk down, and that became like an amulet for the cat. I might be getting that
Yeah.
wrong, but
No,
that's
I
kind
think
of
you're
in my
right.
mind. Yeah,
Yeah, I think you're
yeah,
right.
yeah. So that was all there, and I I found it like a very very enjoyable episode, and um, I don't I don't remember all of the details, but it's one that I'm fond of, and that like yeah, I'd like to go back and kind of check out Cat's Paw again. Um, if I recall, at the end of Cat's Paw, I think the antagonists were like aliens, and when you saw their true form, they were just these just kind of like really really small, delicate looking, kind of funny looking aliens. If I'm thinking about that right, um,
Yeah.
and yeah, that was hilarious. Yeah, that's one of them. Other one is Wolf in the Fold, and that one is connected to like Jack the Ripper,
Hmm.
where Scotty was essentially like framed for the murder of a woman, and that one it always I remember being scared watching that growing up.
Mm,
Just just the voice at the end and kind of the laughter, the maniacal laughter, and the whole thing of it being tied to Jack the Ripper. Really cool episode, original. Um, yeah, and always stands out to me as a scary one from original series.
yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So those are a couple from the original series that stand out to me. Um, yeah. Any others that stand out to you?
Yeah, well, with TOS, I think you definitely got a couple of the ones I was thinking of. Cat's Paw, Wolf in the Fold, for sure. I mean, Cat's Paw, I think is quintessential. That's almost maybe a must watch if you're a Trek fan. Just simply for the fact like it's not a very good episode overall, right? It's not very well written. And we talk a lot about how well written things are on the original series. Like, yeah, some of the stuff is cheesy and hokey with some of the things with the planets and the special effects and stuff, but the writing in TOS was phenomenal. And so this one, maybe it's not the best written episode, but it does have all of the Halloween type of stuff, right? The black cat, the skeletons, like you said, the dungeon, all that kind of. The only thing was missing was pumpkins, but of course, I'm not going to be on a alien planet with pumpkins. That would be really, really bizarre. But yeah, Wolf in the Fold definitely with Jack the Ripper. This one to me is not like maybe as spooky as Cat's Paw, but I would say another episode that pops up in my mind from TOS would be And the Children Shall Lead. And it's
Yeah,
more of just because like the children in it were like just creepy, creepy children. And,
yeah.
many classics, horror and like scary movie stuff that people watch at Halloween has creepy children. I mean, you think of like the twins from The Shining with Jack
Mhm.
Nicholson. There's so many examples of like creepy children in scary movies, whether it's well, it's not a child, but Chucky
Mhm.
is kind of like a child's toy. I mean, there's so many of those kinds of things that happen that oops, sorry, that and the children shall lead to me is got the creepy children aspect of Halloween. So that would be one
Nice,
I would probably add on there.
nice.
But I must say, I think here, if we looked at all of the Star Trek series
Uh-huh.
from the original series all the way through Strange New Worlds. I think the next generation has the best grouping of like creepy, spooky episodes of all of the series. I think there was some really good written ones that were just sprinkled in amongst the seasons. And I know we're both big TNG fans,
Hmm.
with it being your favorite show, Chris. There's probably quite a few TNG episodes that come to mind for you when you think of Halloween.
Yeah, there is one that stands out to me is Night Terrors, and this they get stuck in another dimensional rift, of course, and they begin experiencing like hallucinations, and this is, um, I I believe Deanna is the key to them escaping because Deanna's having dreams that are kind of connected to the alien race, but there's a very scary scene in this one where Crusher is alone and she's in the morgue. And you've got all these dead bodies, and she turns around and it looks like, the dead bodies are essentially coming back up and they're sitting up back
Hmm.
upright. So pretty scary in that episode for sure. That one is, yeah, stands out big.
Yeah, that's one of those episodes that I would recommend if you're a Trek fan or sci-fi fan.
Mhm.
Watch that episode on Halloween night in the dark. That's a
Yeah.
good one to watch because I think it's just the right amount, right? It's not way out in left field. It's not gross and horror, but I think that's a really good one that you picked there to start out with. I really like this episode in TNG that I think is very I want to say more eerie and kind of, I guess there's a bit of a creep factor to it, but the TNG episode Frame of Mind.
Mhm.
And that's the one where Riker is going back and forth between trying to decide if he's actually in an actual psych ward or if he's just dreaming it and he's having all these issues with his mind and his sanity. And he's putting on that play with Dr. Crusher where he's pretending he's like a mental patient on some alien world, but then he turns around and all of a sudden he actually is, but is it really a play or is it not? It's kind of this kind of brain teaser, paranoia type stuff. And I really like that episode. I think it's a really fun one, and certainly one that will kind of make you go ooh, creep you out a little bit just because of the paranoia and the sanity aspect of it.
Yeah, the mental scariness of
Yeah,
it. So
the
it's
mental
good.
place. Yep,
Yeah.
100%. Yep.
Yeah, totally, totally. You remember the TNG episode Genesis? And that one is Picard and Data return to the Enterprise to find the crew has de-evolved.
Yeah.
Yeah. Just Spikeler, Barkley apparently is turning into a spider, and which is freaky. And then Worf is turning into some kind of monster, and
Hmm.
then Riker's turning into Cro-Magnon.
Chromatic, yeah, and Troy is turning into some kind of like lizard
Hmm.
salamander type of thing in her tub. Yeah, this one is a good one. I'm glad you brought this one up too, Chris. This is a great one because to me this is like one of the earliest episodes that I can think of in the Trek franchise that kind of is a horror crossover, right? Like this has a
Hmm.
lot of what I would consider like horror type of pieces to it and horror type of scenes in it.
Yeah, gotcha. Yeah, yeah, and it's a mystery, and I really like the
Yeah.
the episodes of Star Trek where they are like that. Then they're a mystery. They're
Mm.
trying to,
I love the mystery
yeah,
episodes. Yeah.
yeah, me too. Oh,
Yeah, that's a great one.
nice, nice.
Now, this one in TNG called Schisms is
Hmm.
super creepy, right? This is the one where crew members are having a hard time getting sleep and you get people having this real kind of deja vu type of sense. Riker is getting frightened by just normal everyday objects on the ship. They begin to investigate and they realize that they are being abducted in their sleep by some type of, I think, like interdimensional aliens or something like that. And they're doing experiments on them. And
Yeah.
I remember, is it this one or is it Frame of Mind where Riker constantly is rubbing the side of his head I can't remember which
Um,
of the two episodes it was, but this is and there's all that like clicking sound that goes on they hear, and then
ah,
there's a several of them that they group together in the holodeck, and they're trying to figure out what the table looked like that they were on, the lights and everything, and it's this is another one of those kind of creepy. I wouldn't call it a horror by any means, but it's certainly another mystery type of creepy episode.
unsettling for sure,
Yeah,
right?
that's
Yeah.
true. Unsummoned's a good way to put that. Yep.
Yeah. Yeah. Especially, I'm that scene to me in the holodeck is coming back, and then they realize, oh yeah, that's what the table looks like, and they all have that shared experience.
Yeah,
Yeah,
because they're like, we've
it's
been here before, or something
yeah.
like that. Yeah.
Hmm. Yeah.
Yep.
Now, TNG also Phantasms, that episode. Now, I'm actually having trying to remember what that episode was about, Phantasms, and see if it is coming back to you.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
so TNG's episode of the episode Phantasms, I thought was pretty good as well. And I'm going back here in the notes.
Yeah.
Oh, so this is the one. This is like kind of one of those another nightmare episode, like you had night terrors,
Yeah.
and this is the one which is you have kind of nightmares in the ship, and I don't remember who specifically has the nightmares or if it's multiple people. But there's bizarre images where if you remember where Crusher is drinking out of Riker's brain, you see Troy as a piece of cake.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, and they're very weird images that'll kind of maybe freak you out a little bit. When as you get closer to Halloween. So that's kind of what it is. It's an episode I need to go back and watch. Maybe I'll put that on my list for this year for Halloween to watch because I don't remember the exact details of it, but I remember it being on our list from a couple years ago as
There
one
you
of
go.
those. Because so you look at schisms, you look at frame of mind, night terrors, and phantasms, and I think all of these the common theme here is this idea of a nightmarish type
Hmm.
of scary, right? You think of maybe a little bit of Star Trek's version of Nightmare on Elm Street, right? Where you have these nightmares and they're driving people crazy and they're starting to get freaked out and they're paranoid and they're having deja vu and everything. So to me, I would kind of group those few TNG episodes into kind of like the nightmarish type of scary episodes or movies.
Agree. Yeah, and TNG was very good about like starting off with a mystery and then the episode kind of discovering, hey, what's this about and what's the cause of this entire mystery. Very good TNG was that.
Yeah, I think, like I said, I think that the TNG had the best grouping of these kind of
Mhm.
spooky, scary episodes out of all of the Star Trek series. I really think they nailed it.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. DS9 had some as well. DS9
Yeah.
had I remember this one, Empok Nor, and this is where the chief Nog and the crew they head to an abandoned Cardassian station. And what they did at that station was really cool. They made the station, the atmosphere of the station, scary, unnerving.
Hmm.
Um, if I'm recalling this episode correctly, I think they awakened something that was kind of slumbering like at the station, that actually awakened and then came after them, which was pretty.
Yes. So the
Yeah.
things that they awoke or awoken, not the right word. Um, so what they woke up were these. They weren't possessed, but they were kind of they were Cardassians that had kind of lost their minds, and they were supposed to be like guarding the station, but something went wrong. The
Mm,
station was abandoned. So Empok Nor was another Cardassian mining station that had been abandoned. It was kind of left adrift, and when they approach the station, you see it like on its side
mhm,
in the episode. And I believe there were some issues on DS9 where they just didn't have the parts to do it. So Chief decided they had to go to Empok Nor. I don't remember who was the one
mm.
that recommended it. If it was Garrick or Quark or Odo, I don't remember specifically off the top of my head, and I should, but I don't. And so yes, you are absolutely right, Chris. The way they set the mood in that episode, and then you have these like paranoia driven psychopathic Cardassians that are out to kill, and
Mhm.
they're just kind of bloodthirsty. They've been in these stasis pods for forever, and it is really good. To me, it's kind of a little bit of Alien and Predator combo, right? Like they're
Yeah.
creepy, dark hallways on this station, kind of like an Aliens, and but yet they're being hunted by something like in Predator. So it kind of has that feel for me. But yeah, it's a great, great episode. One of my probably top 15 or 20 favorite DS9 episodes.
Nice, nice. And it does feel like I love those one-off episodes. You know, I- where it's not necessarily connected to the main arc, but it is really original. Is searching for like a specific kind of feeling in the episode, and I like that a lot.
Yeah. It
Yeah.
really is. And actually that's the Empok Nor is an episode of Star Trek I would highly recommend people put on their list for this
Mm,
Halloween to watch because it's really
agreed.
good. Turn the lights off, watch the episode. Creepy, psychopathic Cardassians are after to kill Chief Nog. I believe Garrick goes with him because I think Garrick starts being affected by something that starts making him go a little wild.
Yeah.
It's a great, great Halloween episode for sure. So add that to your list of things to watch if you're a Trek fan this Halloween.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. There now Empok Nor, I'll say, is an excellent um Halloween one, but it did not scare me as much as this next DS9 one. And I would have trouble watching this one again, actually. DS9, The Assignment. This is the
Really?
one, yeah. This is the one where Chief O'Brien's wife is taken over by something evil. It's some sort of, evil entity.
Yeah.
And Rosalind Chow, the actress that played Keiko, did such an excellent job. To me, there's something about like this episode, how Keiko was, that just really, really affected me. Like really, this
Mm.
really unnerved me. Where it's like it, you've got, she's playing this completely evil entity, and maybe the unnerving part is like you can't do anything to fight it. You can't, like, she's just pure evil right there, and you can't fight it. It's just evil in a human form. Um, Almost felt a little bit like supernatural, and
Mm.
like, and like a possession. So maybe that's why it was like so scary for me. Like Empok Nor, I can like, and I can enjoy, because they've got the ability to fight back. It's scary and it's creepy, but they can fight back. But mm, that DS9 episode, The Assignment with Chief O'Brien's wife, oh, that one gets me a lot.
Interesting. Interesting.
Yeah,
Well, everybody has things that hit them differently, right? Everybody
yeah.
is creeped out by different things. Everybody's scared by different things. And that's why we've given you what we feel like is the pinnacle list of science fiction episodes and movies to watch this time of the year because there's a little bit of everything on here for people who want something to watch for Halloween. So
Yeah,
a little bit of everything, depending on your preferences, or things you may want to avoid in this case,
yeah.
as stuff it's just maybe unsettling. And you're right because I believe even in that episode, Chris, there was a comment I think that Keiko makes where she says something effective like, "Yeah, I couldn't control anything. I could see what was going on, but I couldn't control it. I couldn't
Yeah,
reach out or whatever the line was."
yeah, yeah.
But yeah, that's a great episode.
Yeah, it is. And again, she does a great job playing that part.
She
Um,
really, really does. There's another episode of DS9 called Whispers. Now, this one
yeah.
has a really kind of a sad ending because this is the one where O'Brien comes back to the station and he
Mhm.
finds that everybody's behavior around him is just not quite right. Something's off. They're
Oh,
not treating him, they're treating him differently. He's finding that he's not able to access the things he should be able to access. People are acting very paranoid around him, like they don't want to talk to him, they don't trust him. Something's really, really weird when he comes back. Unfortunately, as we know, the O'Brien that we're following around throughout the episode is actually a duplicate, and he's killed, and it's the real O'Brien that I believe was taken by somebody, and held hostage, and they replaced him with a copy, a duplicate, or something like that. So this is one of those ones where if you have a fear of, maybe your friends, family, or whatever turning on you, pulling away from you, those types of things that could be scary, this episode's definitely for you. There's a
Yeah.
lot of this is another one of those mystery episodes, Chris, that you said you
Yeah.
liked a lot. I love mystery episodes. In fact, my favorite episode of TNG of all time is the episode Clues. It's a kind of
Yeah.
a obscure episode. It's not usually listed by people on their favorites, but it's one of those mysteries where they they lose all sense of time. They wake up, they don't know what's happened, and then there's a mystery they're trying to figure out for a whole day what's happened, thinking they're only out for a matter of, a few minutes, and it's actually been, I think, 24 plus hours, and they come across some super xenophobic aliens. Anyways, I love
Yeah.
that episode, and so it's very much down that path.
Yeah. Yeah.
Probably
Agreed.
also it helped the fact that I rented that on VHS from Hollywood Video back in the day and watched the crap out of that episode. But
So that goes to like your commitment to watching, yeah, Star Trek, right?
yeah, on
Yeah,
VHS, and then having
on
to rewind it.
VHS.
I had to wait 2 or 3 minutes to rewind it before I could watch it again.
Oh, and that's awesome, man.
For those
That's
of you out there
awesome.
who don't know the horrors, as we're talking about Halloween, the horrors that we're watching VHS tapes. Because, as you know, Chris, the more you watch a VHS tape, the more it wears down the tape, and
Hmm.
then it doesn't last. You can watch DVDs and Blu-rays till forever, as long as you don't scratch them up to death. But
Yeah,
yeah,
they
there were
degrade.
some horrors of watching that VHS
Yeah,
tape. But yes,
yeah,
definitely some good DS9 episodes. I would say DS9. I wouldn't say it was on like the weak side of it, but I would say as far as like in the truest sense of the like Halloween type of episode, really to me, Empok Nor is really the only episode that fits the most as far as that. I mean, you could look at maybe I don't remember the name of the episode, but I think it was in the well, it would be the end of season 6, right around the time Jadzia dies, which is maybe why I didn't remember this, where Gold the Cot is possessed by the paw wraiths.
yeah,
That's pretty creepy. You could probably add that in as well.
yeah. We
But
could, yeah.
that's the episode that I choose to forget because not only they kill off Jadzia, but the way in which they do it. But DS9 to me lacked in the kind of scary, creepy episodes in the way in which TNG did. TNG was just had some really fantastic ones. Ones that you should certainly add to your watch list if you're a Trek fan or a sci-fi fan for this and other Halloween.
Yeah, I agree. The DS9 did not have the style such that TNG had. TNG
Yep.
just had this nice style of starting with a mystery, creating that atmosphere of like suspense and a little bit of scariness and a little bit of horror, and then unraveling the mystery after that. But for me, like we talked about it, the DS9 episode of The Assignment,
Yeah.
uh, that really affected me, and maybe even more so than any of those other episodes
Mm.
from TNG.
So what
Just
you're
on the
saying is that probably won't show up as a spotlight episode anytime soon. That's what you're saying.
oh
Although I will say,
uh
Chris, I'm not that
yeah.
I'm saying we have to do it or anything like that, but I mean that would be an interesting one to delve into the psyche of that episode. But obviously, if
Hmm.
it affected you that severely, we probably shouldn't add that to our spotlight series.
We could. I mean, we could. I'd have to watch it again, which I don't quite look forward to watching again, but we could because that'd be interesting exploring. Like, hey, why is this? Why did it bother me so much? You know, and I
Maybe,
think,
maybe,
yeah, and maybe it was that possession kind of factor thing that was
yeah.
bothering me so much about it.
It
Yeah,
could be. Well, we'll think about it
yeah,
for sure. But
yeah.
anyways, so DS9 was kind of light in my opinion. I
Hmm.
think years two of kind of this Halloweeny type episodes. Uh, but Voyager, I thought had a couple of real dandies. Um, I'll mention the first one, and then please grab the other one.
Yeah.
So the one that I think I am probably going to add to my list for this Halloween, in addition to DS9's Empok Nor, in addition to maybe one of definitely at least one, if not two, of the TNG episodes, is going to be Voyager's Haunting of Deck 12, which just sounds like a Halloween type of episode, right? Now, this is the one which we we know very much happens a lot in Voyager, where the ship's power goes out. they're in the Delta Quadrant, and power outages seem to happen all the time. It's almost like Voyager got their power sources from California. But anyways, their
Ah,
power.
yeah,
I can say that because I lived there once,
yeah.
anyway, or twice. But anyways, but no, the Haunting of Deck 12, very much a Halloween episode. I don't know how long it's been since you've watched it, Chris. It's been a minute since I've seen it, so I
Been a
definitely
minute
need
for
to add
me
it
too.
this. Yeah, I definitely think it's an episode we need to add to our Halloween viewing list this year. But the power goes out, and Neelix begins to tell ghost stories to the Borg children. It is very much, I mean, it has all of the things that you would want in a Halloween episode of Star Trek is in Voyager's The Haunting of Deck 12.
Yeah, that's excellent. I recall it being an excellent episode, and I want to go back and watch it again. You're right. Voyager does a great job with the style, um, connecting it back to Halloween, connecting it back to kind of scary episodes, and yeah, just
Yeah. I mean,
calling
he's
it
basically
Haunting of Deck.
he's telling ghost
Yeah,
stories, like campfire ghost stories. So
yeah,
that just, breeds Halloween to me.
yeah, absolutely, absolutely. It was great.
Yeah. But and there's another one. Now, this other one, Chris,
Hmm?
uh is actually one of my favorite Voyager episodes. It's really, really good.
Yeah. Now, you're referring? I think you're referring to the one where Seven is left alone, like on the ship, to guide the ship through a nebula, because the everyone else is medically affected by the nebula, so they've got to go into a slumber, and so Seven is alone. Yeah, and this is
With
kind of
the doctor.
yeah,
Yeah, the doctor
yeah,
and her are the
with the
only two that
doctor.
are, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. And this is really interesting because it goes into the psyche of a little bit of Seven, and maybe like it connects, like conceptually connected to a little bit of the one in TNG where schisms with Riker, because he's going
Yeah.
into a little bit of that psyche with him too. Yeah, this was a great one, right? I think she starts hallucinating a little bit
Yes.
like throughout the episode.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And the episode
and
literally is called One. So
yeah,
because she's the only real, like, live thing that's
yeah.
not in stasis, right? Because the doctor is a hologram. He's not alive in the physical sense. But the two of them are left to take care of the ship, and this is late enough in the show, I believe. Does the doctor have his holo emitter? Is he able to go about the ship, or
I
is it
think
just
so.
her?
Yeah.
Or does she
I
just have to go about the ship, and he's stuck in the thing? I don't remember off the
Ah,
top of my head if he's still stuck in the
sick bay.
sick
Yeah.
bay, or if he's able to move about the ship. I want to say he moves about the ship, but I could be wrong. Maybe that's just a good excuse to go back and watch it.
Yeah, this would be a great one to go back and watch. Yeah.
Yeah.
Haunting of Deck 12 and 1. One is they're both excellent.
Yeah. To me, one is like a psychological thriller. It's one of the kind
Hmm.
of like thriller episodes. Like, it's got some creep to it for sure, but it's very psychological in nature, kind of like you mentioned with some of the TNG stuff.
Yeah, agree. So those will be a couple that we've got to go back and watch.
For
This
sure.
yeah, this makes me want to go back and watch those for sure.
Yeah. Now, Voyager had a couple good ones, but and Enterprise definitely has a couple good ones. I would say one of them, Chris, might be in the top five creepiest Star Trek episodes.
Doctor's orders. Yeah, doctor's orders. And then impulse. Those were the ones that stood out to us
Yeah.
on
Impulse is the one
Enterprise.
I'm thinking of as far as like top five creepiest Star Trek episodes.
So that one is like a full-on impulse, was like a full-on action horror like episode. It could have been its own
Yes.
movie. I mean, this premise was
Absolutely.
like awesome, right? So like this, you've got this marooned Vulcan ship um that's out there. So this derelict ship, they're going to they're going to rendezvous through the ship to see what's on it. And then what's on it, there's a bunch of zombie Vulcans. And so then it's a chase, as I recall, like the zombie Vulcans chasing T'Pol, chasing the other members of the Enterprise. And then T'Pol, I think, is she's slowly being affected. So there's kind of a race with time to protect her so that she doesn't get overcome by the same neurotoxin that's affecting the other Vulcans. Full on like action, like horror set
Yes.
for this one. This
Zombie
was great.
Vulcans. How could you go wrong with that? I mean, it's A
Yeah.
maroon Vulcan ship they go on to, and they find zombie Vulcans. I mean, it's a classic horror crossover with Star Trek, like you said, and it's absolutely perfect for this time of year.
Like the Enterprise like just had some fantastic ideas, man. I
It
mean,
really did.
you had zombie Vulcans, you had In a Mirror Darkly, which we talked about in our last Mirror Universe
Which people are
spotlight episode.
loving, by the way.
Yeah.
It is just going nuts over on YouTube and on our podcast platform. So if you haven't checked that out, please go do it. It's our final Legacy Trek Mirror episode. It's one you won't want to miss. We absolutely love talking about In a Mirror Darkly Part 1 and 2.
Yeah. We could do a spotlight on Impulse. Just
It
you know, they did a great job with that episode. I want to go back and
They
watch that
really
one again.
did. It would be fun to talk about it in our Spotlight series and do a deep dive on it because of the fact of of the way in which they did the crossover and made it that horror style, right? I would say this, like I said, I think this is in the top five for best Halloween in air quotes, best Halloween type of Star Trek episodes. It just fits the bill and checks so many boxes.
Yeah. We should do a party where it's a viewing party where we just list several, maybe five episodes of Star Trek, and then that evening we just watch all of these episodes of Star Trek.
That would be cool. That would be
Yeah.
really neat. We'll have to do it in a way in which we don't get nailed by Paramount for the copyright infringement. But we could figure out something. That would be a lot of fun, almost like a watch along for something. That'd be pretty cool. We'll have to try
Yeah.
that out sometime.
Yeah.
So Enterprise's doctor's orders. You also mentioned that, Chris. This
Mhm.
is another. So this is very similar. It's not an original episode per se, but it's very similar to Voyager's one, where the whole crew is put in stasis, and Doctor Phlox, because he's denobulan, somehow is not affected. And I think they have to go through a nebula as well. So it's kind of like a rehash of Voyager, but it's still a great episode where now Phlox has to run the ship while
Yeah.
everybody else is in their chambers. And it's another one of those kind of creepy. Dr. Phlox starts becoming a little paranoid. So again, very similar to Voyager's one, but it's still a fantastic episode. Another highly recommended one for Halloween.
Awesome. Absolutely awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now, Strange New Worlds has its share of, one that really got to us and that affected us.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I'll say the episode Those Who Wander. So this is the episode where we see the Gorn. And boy, do we see the Gorn. And it's it's disturbing in how we see the Gorn, right? Because the Gorn are they're vicious killers, almost like a slasher, themselves, like a slasher killer. And then the way they incubate in whatever like species there is and grow, and then essentially burst out of the host, very much like aliens, right? So
Yeah,
yeah.
I remember when we watched this episode, and I vividly remember our phone conversation after the episode came out. We both watched it, and I remember how absolutely ecstatic you were about this episode because of how alien-esque it was, right? And
Yeah.
I know we're both big fans of the Alien franchise, and the just sheer horror alien crossover that this episode represented, I think they took a big gamble here because it's not the most original idea in the way in which they presented the Gorn and how they hatch and grow and things like that, but it was very well executed. Whether it was the creepy dark hallways on board that ship, the little things running around all over the
Mhm.
place like Alien, those types of things. But it's also a bittersweet episode because our friend of the podcast,
Mhm.
Bruce Horak, who was on with us, who played Hemmer, this is also the episode where he dies, I believe, right? Because
Yeah,
they get
it
into
is.
him, and then he kills himself in order to save the rest of the crew, so they don't hatch in his body or they don't burst out. There is a bit of I guess, lack of creativity in the way in which the Gorn were presented initially, but the execution, like I said, of the episode was fantastic.
Yeah, I agree. The execution was fantastic. I felt like they made the episode the way they wanted to make it. I felt like they had a good time like making this episode and say, hey, let's do this. Let's make it the best version of what this can be. Um, and Hammer like falling as he did, that's very much very Alien 3 throwback to
Mm,
what Ripley does at the end of Alien 3, and she just kind of drops down because she knows she's hosting an alien in her too. So
yeah. And my guess is
yeah.
the way in which they presented the gore on this, Chris, was very intentional. Like I'm sure
Hmm.
the writers of this episode and the way in which they did it and how they produced it was probably done not to like steal from Alien, but more of an homage of that Alien horror.
Agree, homage to that. Because um Star Trek Strange New Worlds, I can watch that episode pretty much straight up. There's a lot of action, it is creepy. You go into Alien, and Alien's kind of this next uh it's next level up because there's gore in
Yeah.
Alien. There's a whole lot of suspense. There's some, sometimes some slow shots of the alien, the xenomorph itself, and the xenomorph is very scary looking.
Yeah.
Um, you know, the H.R. Giger kind of art setting artwork of the xenomorph is just flat out creepy. So 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 like Alien is like it's this other kind of plateau that you go on, and Strange New Worlds you can enjoy it. Yep. Alien, no. You go in, it's a roller coaster ride, and you're gonna be like on the edge for a while. Yeah.
Yeah, that is true. But it is a super creepy episode.
Hmm.
If we're instead of a top five, if we're making like a top 10, let's say we're making a top 10, like great, the best like creepy, Halloween Star Trek episodes. I'm absolutely putting Strange New Worlds, All Those Who Wander from season one into that top 10.
Okay. This is great.
Yeah,
Maybe we should like do a top 10.
yeah, that would be kind of fun. Maybe we should have done that for this
Yeah.
episode. Just that, hey, let's here's our top 10. But at the same time, this is also a bunch of recommendations from us. So
Yeah.
we highly recommend every episode of Star Trek so far. We haven't gotten to even just like the sci-fi movies yet, but all the Star Trek episodes we've mentioned so far, we wouldn't have on here if we didn't recommend them as episodes, potentially for your
Yeah.
viewing pleasure this time of year. And they're like we mentioned before, Chris. There's a little bit of everything on this list.
Hmm. And we recognize that we're light on Discovery because we just haven't really got into Discovery, so there might be some
Yeah.
episodes in that, but that's okay,
And there
you know.
definitely is.
Yeah.
There's a couple. I looked up some lists, and there's a couple. But yeah, you're 100% right.
Yeah. So absolutely. So these are
Yeah.
cool. So um yeah, like you said it, Zach, we definitely recommend these episodes of Star Trek to go watch and enjoy.
Yeah. Now, we have been doing some deep dives and some focus
Mhm.
spotlight episodes on Battlestar Galactica. And unlike the last time we did this, we weren't heavily into BSG on the podcast. I know I had already seen it. You hadn't watched it yet, but now that you've watched it, you'll know exactly what this episode's about. And I would highly recommend this. If you are a Battlestar Galactica fan or sci-fi fan, I would highly, highly recommend Battlestar Galactica Season Two's episode Valley of Darkness. This is the episode where the Cylons have boarded Galactica after crashing a Cylon raider into the flight deck on one of the flight decks of Galactica. And now the Cylons have gotten out, and they're the big actual robots, not the human looking ones, but the robot looking ones, are running around the ship, and the hallways are dark, and they're going towards some of the critical systems of Galactica. They're shutting stuff down. The hallways are dark. They've got the Marines out looking for them, which kind of reminds you a little bit of Aliens.
Mhm.
And you've got colonial fleet pilots are out with guns trying to find them, and you're going around all these dark turns, and the president's trying to get through without being killed. And she's being escorted to try to get to, I believe, the CIC on board Galactica. And there's an all-out fight. There's dark, creepy hallways. There's bloody bodies all over. Very alien type of feel to this episode with a little bit of Predator mixed in.
Yeah, I agree. There's a chase, there's a lot of confusion, and what I feel like they did really, really well was, um, you hear a lot of screaming and a lot of agony. You hear it, right? And then you hear a lot of
Yes.
gunfire. You hear a lot of people like meeting their demise. You don't always see the Cylons. And I thought they did a great job because they're leaving some of that up to the imagination, right? Like as the
Yes.
as they're trying to escape, like they're hearing all this terrible stuff go on, which I think even makes it scarier because they're not knowing what's happening. So they did a great
Yeah,
job
there's a
with that
lot of
episode.
screams in this episode. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
There
Most.
really is. You were absolutely right, Chris. This is a fan. I really like this episode a lot from the perspective of being a good one for Halloween, for sure.
Hmm. Yeah, yeah. Agree. It was a good one. So,
Yeah. Very
um,
good.
yeah, go watch that Battlestar Galactica episode.
100%. Now, we did mention Alien a lot in some of these episodes, Chris. So, that being said, I think it's a good time to transition into just general science fiction movies that we think are great viewing for this time of year. We've added a few new ones from the last
Mhm.
time we did this a couple of years ago. And I think people who are watching or listening to this, if you're not a big Trek fan, but you're a sci-fi fan, this is the part of our list of must watches or high recommendations that I think you're really gonna like.
Yeah. Most everyone knows about Alien and the Alien franchise, right? But I think there's several now, and I'm not even caught up like on the most recent Alien movies. But this Alien franchise, starting with the first Alien that I believe came out late 70s, maybe.
Yeah, it was late.
Was
Yeah, it was late
yeah.
70s for sure.
Um, that that one really captivated audiences, set a standard. It was very, very suspenseful. It You did feel like there's just like a slasher killer, like looking for everyone. This is one where um you wouldn't see the killer, of course, until the end, the xenomorph
Right.
until the end. So very, very good. And then followed up with its sequels, of course, then the Aliens, which is a fantastic sequel, Alien 3, which is uh, you know,
Not very good,
yeah,
but
I think yeah, had potential, but I think really, really mixed up a lot of people. That
yeah.
is
Uh,
that is River,
it,
like
oh,
saying
sorry.
hello.
Gotcha. Yeah. Now we know, Chris, and I think most people would agree that Aliens, the second movie in the franchise, is arguably, I don't know, it's arguably, it's the best of the franchise. That movie is definitely the best. If we look at it from a sequel standpoint, Aliens is probably the best, one of the best, maybe the best sequel of any sci-fi franchise. I mean, you could argue Star Trek II: The Wrath of Khan is a sequel to the motion picture. I don't know if it's a sequel though. It's more of a continuation. You could argue that Empire Strikes Back is a sequel to Star Wars, although I would argue it's a continuation. That being said, the Alien franchise has every aspect of what you would want in a movie to watch on Halloween night or sometime around Halloween, if you are not a horror, normal Halloween type movie, and you're a sci-fi fan, you want something kind of creepy to watch, the Alien franchise is a perfect pick.
Yeah, absolutely. And
Really,
then
it's the gold standard for sci-fi horror crossover, I think.
yeah. And now with the new one, I haven't seen the new one. Um, it'll be kind of interesting, like when it comes out on demand to see how that one is. Alien
Yeah, I've heard
Romulus is
good
the new
things
one.
about Alien Romulus. Yeah, I've heard good things about it.
Yeah, so that'll be interesting. Yeah. Um,
Yeah.
one that's kind of so not Alien, but one that we've talked about a while is called Event Horizon. And that one is well known. This one scarred me and
Yes.
yeah, was quite gory. I think started out really cool with a science fiction idea, but um it was too much for me.
I agree. I've seen the movie twice, and I don't think I can watch it again.
Yeah.
Um, Event Horizon, for those of you watching or listening, we've had many discussions about this movie on our show. We haven't done an episode based around it because I don't know if we'd make it through it, but we've definitely had our fair share of discussions. We brought this up before. I guess my question for the audience is the Event Horizon sci-fi or horror or both?
Ah,
I would actually argue this movie to me is I would say 95% horror and 5% sci-fi. It's just everything about it to me breeds horror. The only thing that makes it science fiction is that it's in the future and they have technology in space that they can, you know, travel the solar system and they can do these long jumps and stuff like that. That's the only thing to me that makes it sci-fi. Everything else about it's horror. So I would agree with you, Chris. It is very, very disturbing movie. It's one of the most gruesome type nightmares type of driven movies
oh
I've ever
yeah.
seen. And certainly the movie, like watching it with, I mean, it had a big cast. You're talking Lawrence Fishburne, Sam Neill, there, and there's other people, a young Jason Isaacs. I mean, there's a lot of people in this movie. Um, this movie to me is maybe the most bizarre movie Sam Neill did. It's so off on everything else that he did. I feel like that it's just yeah, it's a very very hard movie to watch. If you like horror, gruesome, gory stuff and you're a sci-fi fan, this movie might be for you if you
Yeah,
haven't
I
seen it.
agree.
But
I
yeah.
agree.
Yeah, so Event Horizon very very difficult to watch. That being said, a movie that I think is very suspenseful, one I actually really like. I'm not a big M. Night Shyamalan fan. And I would consider this movie, I don't know if you do, Chris. I would consider this movie science fiction. Maybe some people don't. Maybe some people do. I definitely do. And that's the movie Signs with Mel Gibson, Joaquin Phoenix. It's a very suspenseful movie. I think what
Mhm.
makes it science fiction is that it's based around the idea of aliens, right? And crop circles and things like that in this and I think that this movie definitely falls into the science fiction category, and it's very
Mhm.
suspenseful. Lots of moments that'll make you jump, but there's not really any gore in it. I remember the first time watching it, it freaked me out a little bit. There's some jump moments where I'm like, "Oh crap!" Well, you know, like looking over, like, did I just see something move in the dark, kind of thing. It's definitely an M Night Shyamalan movie. I
Hey,
very much do enjoy this movie, and it was on TV not that long ago. Actually, I watched a little bit of it. I don't know if
nice.
what your thoughts are on Signs, Chris. If it's a movie that you have watched or enjoy at all, but it's certainly one on be on my list of movies for Halloween.
I watched it a while back, and I believe I totally agree it's science fiction because there's aliens in there. If I remember at the end, that is
Yeah,
kind of
no, there
the
absolutely
that
are. Yeah,
yeah, that's the reveal is that the aliens are there making the sign. So completely agree. Yeah. M. Night Shyamalan is he's kind of a master of like the suspense like throughout the first part of the first three-fourths of the movie or two-thirds of the movie until and
yeah.
then the reveal kind of sees like what's happening. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I'm not a huge fan of his movies, although I like Signs. But I will say one thing I think he's also good at, Chris, is deception. Right?
Hmm.
He makes the movie in a way that makes you start thinking one way, and then the reveal happens. You're like, oh, that's not what I was thinking.
Yeah, yeah. He's a trickster. So,
For sure, for sure. Definitely though, the next movie I would say that's a definite classic older sci-fi movie is one I know that we've recommended before, and I think
mm,
it's still good to recommend.
yeah, Scanners. So that is a classic retro movie, and that stars Michael Ironside, who I know
Love
you
Michael
love
Ironside.
Michael
I
Ironside.
love me some
Yep,
Michael Ironside.
right.
I want to get him on our show so bad. I mean, he's Lieutenant Radcheck from Starship Troopers, and he's in Total Recall, and he's in Terminator Salvation, and he's in this, and
Mhm.
he's in a million things, and dude, he was freaking Jester in Top Gun. I mean, he's been in so many things. He's so good. The next Karate Kid, which isn't a very good movie, but he was good in that. I mean, he's such a phenomenal actor. I love Michael Ironside so much.
That's right. I saw a movie like it's not too long ago. It's called Turbo Kid, and it has Michael Ironside in it, and it is a
He's been
complete
in so many
yeah,
things. Yeah.
it's a complete gore fest in Turbo Kid, and
Turbo
it
Kid
is, but
sounds like a
it
kid's movie though.
yeah,
It's
kind
not.
of it
Oh, it
yeah.
is.
Well, No,
It's a gore
kids.
fest, but it's a kids movie.
Yeah, kids don't watch it. Yeah, please,
Oh,
kids.
okay.
Yeah, don't watch it, kids. But he's
Oh,
totally over the top on it. Yeah. So if that's interesting, like people should watch that. That's kind of a funny post-apocalyptic like horror movie. Like like if it was Mad Max, but a kid on a bicycle. There you go. Yeah.
I would
Uh,
argue. Okay, I would have to argue, Chris. Michael Ironside to me is one of the best science fiction character actors of all time. He's so good. He's been in so many sci-fi movies, playing all these different types of characters. He plays a bad guy really, really well. Obviously, he's played a lot of bad guys, but
mhm.
he has been in so many sci-fi movies. I would love to ask him, like, did that just kind of come about naturally that you just kept getting these sci-fi parts, or was that intentional? Like you were reading scripts and wanted to be a part of science fiction? I would always love to ask him that question, like how science fiction became such a big part of his career, because he's done so much of it in so many iconic science fiction movies.
Yeah, you're right. In Total Recall, we just talked about Starship Troopers.
Mhm.
Yeah, scanners.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Speaking of Starship Troopers, if you're watching or listening, you love that movie, and the a game came out. Now it's on all platforms. I think it's been out for a while on like PC or something, but it's out on all the different gaming platforms now, called Starship Troopers. I believe it's called Extermination, and it's a great like 16 player co-op
Ooh,
multiplayer where you're fending off hordes of bugs and building. You actually get to help build bases. I mean, it's a fantastic game. It's a lot of fun. Just downloaded it when it came out, and I've been playing it. It's really good. Anyways,
nice,
a
nice.
little plug there for that game. Oh yes, and Casper Van Dien, aka Johnny Rico, does voice in that game too.
Oh, nice. I'm glad he's back to do the voice. That's
Yeah, for
excellent.
sure.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
anyways, yeah, Michael, I didn't mean to go off on a Michael Ironside
No,
tangent there, but when you brought up scanners, I'm like, yes, I love me some Michael Ironside. He is so, so, so good.
nice, very nice.
Yeah.
Got Ghostbusters. That people are pretty familiar with Ghostbusters. You are rocking the Ghostbusters shirt, so that is
And
excellent.
my unlicensed nuclear accelerator is sitting over in the corner. Just don't tell the government that. They might come try to take it away from me.
They
They
might
might.
do that. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I,
Ghostbusters is
yeah,
epic,
yeah,
classic.
is Ghostbusters like one was classic. Ghostbusters two was classic. I recently watched Ghostbusters, the most recent one, Frozen Empire,
Hmm.
and enjoyed it. Yeah, I loved that Dan Aykroyd and Bill Murray were in it, and Winston was in it.
And Ernie Hudson too.
Yeah, Ernie
Yep.
Hudson. So that
Yep.
was great that they were there. Um, and uh, the the mayor, yeah, the mayor, the New York mayor, I believe, and he was in.
Oh no. The guy you're thinking of is the guy who played Walter Peck, the EPA guy, the guy who tries to sue
Yeah,
them, right? Yeah. Because
yeah.
I think the guy who played the mayor in the first two Ghostbusters, I think he's passed away.
Okay,
But
okay.
yes, Walter Atherton, I think. I think he was also in. I think he was in Die Hard.
Hmm.
He was in Die Hard 2, I think, as well. He's on the airplane. I think it was Die Hard 2 he was in.
Yeah, so it's good. Yeah, Ghostbusters still is going on. It seems like they're gonna make another one too. Um,
That's what I've
just by
heard.
the way they ended. So that
And their Netflix is working on making a new Ghostbusters animated series, which is
oh,
awesome. Yes, the Ghostbusters franchise is alive and well and doing fantastic. Now, I I was entertained by Frozen Empire. I would say Frozen Empire was not as good as Afterlife, and or as good as the originals. Obviously, I thought Afterlife was amazing. It was such a great follow on to the originals. We don't talk about that 2016 Ghostbusters movie. That doesn't count. But the writing in it was just horrible. It wasn't because they were lady Ghostbusters. Just the movie was just horribly done. But yeah, the franchise is alive and well, and lots more coming. And I'm excited because when I was a kid, I wanted to bust some ghosts, man. I did. That was such a massive part of my childhood. And two of the last 3 years, when my kids have gone trick or treating, I have dressed up as a Ghostbuster, full on Ghostbuster. I almost thought about wearing my Ghostbuster jumpsuit for this episode, but
oh,
my Ghostbuster jumpsuit, my proton pack, I had it all, man. Belt, elbow pads, everything. So I might wear it again this year. We'll see.
Oh man, that's awesome. I think you
Yeah.
should.
You think I
Totally.
should?
Yeah, I
Yeah.
think you should.
That'd be fun. People get a kick out of the Ghostbusters.
Hmm.
Everybody knows Ghostbusters, even little kids. I mean, that's it's part of our pop culture, our lexicon. Um,
Yep.
Now I want to mention this, Chris, because this was a new one that I added. It's not a new movie. It's a new one I added from when I was doing some research. This
Yeah.
movie came out in 2009. It's 2009. It's called Pandorum. Now this movie is very interesting. I'm actually would be curious to see it. And this movie is a form of basically follows this group of humans that oh, sorry. This group of humans that are on board a ship because they're the last surviving humans. And they are in suspended animation, waiting to reach a new planet to repopulate the species. Two crew members wake up for maintenance. They had to do maintenance on the ship, I guess. Again, I haven't seen this. I'm reading kind of off a description.
Yeah.
They're supposed to wake up for maintenance on the ship, and they discover that they are in a desperate race to survive aboard this ship filled with cannibalistic humans.
Oh my goodness.
So it's probably pretty graphic, I would imagine. Uh, but it was on a list of sci-fi movies that are worth viewing as far as what we're talking about.
How do we get to space
So
and then
I've never seen it.
yeah, yeah. Me neither.
Yeah. No,
We're
I haven't
afflicted
either.
by
So
can't
maybe we'll have
yeah.
to look and see if we can find that somewhere. Yeah, I mean, I'm hoping if I can find it somewhere and watch it, I'm hoping it's not like Event Horizon type of
Hmm.
nastiness because it's kind of sounds a little bit like that, sort of. Although on there the humans aren't cannibals, but I'm curious to see what this entails. So if you're watching or listening and you have seen Pandorum that came out in 2009, please shoot us a note and let us know what you thought of it, what we can expect or be in for watching that movie because it might be worth our viewing, Chris, just to
Mhm.
see what it's all about, see what the fuss is all about.
Now this somehow this reminded me, made me think of Serenity and Serenity
Ah,
the series Serenity, but also the movie. Oh no, sorry, series Firefly. Firefly the
yeah,
series and
Firefly
then the
the
movie
movie.
Serenity. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because in Firefly the series and then in Serenity the movie, I think there's these group of humans that call themselves Reavers, and
Mm.
I know they attack other like ships. They're like pirates. I don't know if they're cannibals, but I remember them portrayed like very scary, kind of like they were crazy, like they were mad. Maybe they were cannibals. I don't know, but Serenity did a good job with that. So I have to go back and take a look at those Serenity episodes, Firefly episodes, and Serenity movie.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. Yeah, no, it's but yeah, if you have seen it, let us know. But Pandorum is a movie on a list that are it's recommended if you're a sci-fi fan to watch this time of year.
Pandorum, excellent.
Yeah.
The John Carpenter movie, The Thing, which is like a revered horror movie that takes place in
Yes.
Antarctica, if I'm correct. Any list listeners from Antarctica there?
Can those of you listening in Antarctica confirm?
Confirm. Yeah. So, yeah, I need to, it's been a long time like since I've seen The Thing. Um, and I remember just scaring me like so much just when I saw like just certain scenes of The Thing. But that is definitely one people should go and seek out and watch. Because that
Well,
is an
let's
excellent one.
be honest, Chris. John Carpenter is responsible for generations of kids having nightmares.
Yeah.
All the movies he's made. I mean, now he made, the original Halloween, which I think is arguably one of the most
Hmm?
iconic horror Halloween. Well, it's not called Halloween for a reason, but Halloween movies. It's that way for a reason, and that
Yeah.
music and the way. I mean, that movie's fantastic. So John Carpenter knows what he's doing as far as scaring people and kids who maybe watching those movies.
Yeah, he does. You know, he made Ghosts on Mars,
Hmm.
which was
Never saw it, but I've heard of it.
yeah, that I remember really liking that, and that was scary. he also made They Live. And so that's one where um, you've got aliens living amongst us, but
Mm,
they're kind of in disguise. And there
like Men
was
in
a,
Black.
yeah, yeah. I remember there's like a professional wrestler that was the main actor in that, Rodney Piper, something
Mm.
like that. That. So,
Well, John Carpenter, I think, also did Escape from New York, right?
yeah, and Big Trouble in Little China.
Yeah, he's a legend for a reason, man, for a reason. Now, is the thing? Would you consider that sci-fi or more horror?
Sci-fi, because it's an alien. So,
Gotcha.
yeah, I
Okay.
guess that's how I bucket it, right? In my mind, file it. Oh, if it's an alien,
Yeah.
then it goes sci-fi. Yeah.
I mean, most likely, yeah. I mean, that's more science. I mean, horror doesn't have to be. Horror is usually gory, graphic. It doesn't always have to be way out there. Horror could be something like Michael Myers, right? Who is this kid who snaps and murders his sister on Halloween night and then
Mm-hmm.
becomes this crazy psychopath. There's nothing science fiction about that. It could very much happen. So that's kind of how I would separate things. I mean, aliens don't exist as far as we know. And maybe people out there go, well, they do. Well, okay, sure. But as far as we know, the general population, we don't know if there's actually aliens. So I would definitely consider that science fiction then.
Yeah, here you go. Um, there's an believe it or not, this is a Disney movie. This is an older movie called The Black Hole. And I love this movie, The Black Hole, but the end um, is kind of scary because they do get sucked into the black hole, and there's kind of a depiction of what is this place? Is it hell? And also the mad scientist like on this ship. Yeah, he's a disturbing character, plus his robot like Maximilian is a disturbing character. So this is it's a good one. The Black Hole. I would recommend seeing it. That's one I've enjoyed very much.
Nice. That's good. Now, Chris, I know we're both big Doctor Who fans. I think you're
Yeah.
probably a bigger Doctor Who fan than me, but I do like Doctor Who quite a bit as well. There's a number of really, really good, fantastic Doctor Who episodes that are perfect for this time of year.
Yeah, absolutely. They did such a great job of creating this iconic, very, very scary entity, the Weeping Angels that we first meet in
Oh my
Blink.
gosh. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Um,
Those things are
yeah,
creepy.
are creepy.
Creepy and very scary because I mean, there's a few moments. The first time I watched the episode Blink, I remember jumping a couple times because they turn around and bam, they're right in your face.
Mhm.
Like, and they're oh yeah, they are creepy.
They did a good job. When we were at the Star Trek convention a few years ago, I think someone was cosplaying as a weeping angel, like walking around the convention floor. So I remember that. That was
Yes,
pretty interesting. Yeah.
I remember that
Uh,
costume being fantastic. Yeah.
yeah. So that was neat. But Doctor Who is filled with a lot. So I remember the episode called The Impossible Planet, where David Tennant's version of the Doctor, he's 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 like looking over this pit, and at the bottom of the pit, kind of you're figuring out what is supposed to be in this pit, and it's Satan. And at that time I watched that, I was kind of new to Doctor Who. I was very new to Doctor Who, and then I was impressed by like wow, they're going this far, like in that episode, and they did. So that was really, really enjoyable to see. Water on Mars is also a very, very scary one. Um, and uh, one that it's particularly scary to me is called Midnight. And now that I'm thinking about it, this connects. Um, this was disturbing to me in the same way that DS9 episode assignment was disturbing to me with Keiko. So this is a surface of a planet where there's diamonds, but the crew is possessed by an alien, and the alien is really, or we think it's an alien. We're not really actually like sure, but the crew's possessed by something, and one of the flight attendants is possessed by something, and it's very, very challenging to the doctor, and you can see the doctor uh like scared. And the doctor doesn't get scared,
Mhm.
but you see the doctor
Right.
scared here. Um, so now that I'm thinking about why did this one affect me so much, I think it was the same reason that DS9 episode with Keiko. on why that affected me so much. So, like when there's a possession, and then and it's involving some nefarious like evil entity, yeah, that gets it's creepy to me. So yeah, yeah, absolutely. That
I'll
episode,
bet. Yeah.
yeah,
There
yeah. Go
there's
ahead.
an episode of Doctor Who I can think of called God Complex, right?
Yeah.
And this is where the Doctor and the companions, I don't remember which, do you remember which, is this a Tennant episode or a Matt Smith episode? I can't remember. Or maybe it's a different
Oh,
one.
I think this is
Which
a
Doctor is this? Or is
Matt
this
Smith
Peter
episode.
Matt Smith? Okay. I
Yeah,
can't remember. I vaguely remember this, but the title definitely rings familiar. Where I believe the Doctor and his companions are trapped in a hotel, and they're having to face their like innermost fears.
yeah,
So certainly some more psychological stuff there, right? Where if they're facing their fears that not necessarily real, but it's their fears, and so therefore it's unique to them. I would say The Shining, this is like almost like a Doctor Who version of The Shining, right? Where they're
oh
trapped in a
yeah,
hotel. Well, they're not. They are kind of trapped because a big snowstorm comes in, right? If you've seen The Shining, the
yeah,
original one, I know they did a remake of it too, which is pretty creepy too. But the original with Jack Nicholson, where they're in that hotel, right, and he starts hallucinating and seeing things, and his fears, and they start making him be paranoid and just go crazy. Uh, I kind of feel like a little bit of similarity here, almost like a Doctor Who version of The Shining.
yeah. Oh, that's a good one. Really, really good.
Yeah,
Um,
definitely
bes-
some fantastic Doctor Who episodes, and there's probably more if you guys
hmm,
are thinking of them. You mentioned Waters on Mars. That's another one for sure.
hmm,
Empty Child is another good one. But lots and lots of great Doctor Who episodes we could certainly add into a list
we
of
can.
Trek episodes as far as sci-fi episodes. I was thinking through this too, Chris. I was thinking really hard about this. I don't think there's any Star Wars series that have episodes that I would consider as like really creepy or dark or anything like that, right? Can you think of any Star Wars ones? I mean, I know you had the
Oh, this
Obi-Wan
is.
series, the Obi-Wan series, right, where Vader and Obi-Wan are battling in the dark and you see their lightsaber glows,
Hmm.
but that's not creepy to me. That's just a cool shots. And I was trying to think too through like some of the animated series, if there was like something from the Clone Wars or anything like that that might have been creepy or Halloween type, but
Yeah,
I couldn't think
yeah.
of
It's
any.
not really like that, is it? I mean, you
No,
had
because Star Wars is geared towards kids, so
hmm.
it's not like Star Trek and Doctor Who that's more adult oriented. I couldn't think of any. If you're watching or listening out there, please let us know if you can think of some Star Wars episodes from shows or streaming shows that would fit that bill. But I couldn't think of any, Chris.
Was Ahsoka the one where they introduced the idea of the witches, and they've got these
Yeah,
witches in Ahsoka?
yeah, that
So
could be a little creepy,
yeah,
but
yeah.
not. I mean, to me, when we watch it, because remember we did the reviews of the
Hmm.
episodes. I don't remember those episodes with the witches as really having that creepy kind of a feel, but maybe somebody else did, and so therefore they might consider that part of as a creepy type stuff. So that's a good point.
That's a good question. I do want to go back and kind of see, yeah, review the Star Wars kind of canon, see if they've got any like creepy, freaky ones in there that would fit the Halloween.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
there could be like a Clone Wars one that's a little more dark and grim or something like that. But I couldn't think of any off the top of my head. So again, if you're watching or listening to this, please shoot us a message on Facebook or Instagram or a comment on YouTube on this video or others and let us know if we missed something from the Star Wars universe. But I know there's
Yeah.
some other stuff that you had thought of, Chris, that may have not fit any of the boxes that we've checked so far as for our recommendations that you think might certainly be good for this time of year to watch.
Yeah, do you remember the Species franchise? So that one, there's alien monster essentially that takes the form of a beautiful female, and so that one's I think there's like four or five of those, and I remember I really enjoyed the first Species movie and the second Species movie, and then there's more like direct to video ones after that. But those are all out, so those are very in terms of like design of the alien creature, it feels very much like H.R. Giger, or feels almost like a version of a xenomorph, but in a more um human form a little bit. So But those were good. You check those out first, like enjoyable, like B flick movies.
I don't know that
Um,
I've ever actually seen this any of the Species movies. Was the Species movies? Was that the one with Sharon Stone? Was she in those, or was that
no,
Was Michelle Pfeiffer
um,
in it? I can't remember. There was some, or
no,
neither one of those in them. I don't remember.
Natasha Henstridge. Natasha. She's in Maximum Risk with JCVD.
Oh yeah, all you had to do is mention my man Jean Claude. All
Yeah.
right. Okay. Yes.
Yeah.
Well, we know we both love Maximum Risk. So,
Yeah, we do.
by the way, I found a DVD copy of that here in town at the one of the stores that sells all like the older
Oh,
DVDs and
sweet.
stuff. Yeah, I
Yeah.
found a copy of that. So I quickly grabbed it. And I finally this okay, I don't mean to go off a path,
No,
but
no, no.
just for a second.
This is good.
The
This is
same
good.
store. I love going to this store because it's one of those like where they buy people's DVDs and
Yeah.
Blu-rays and like video games, stuff like that, and they resell them, you know. So they're a lot of they do sell new stuff, but they sell a lot of used things. So what I love about it is you can go find obscure or like older stuff that you can't
Oh,
find on streaming
nice.
there, and then get it for your collection so you can actually watch it when you want to. Because frankly, there's a lot of John Claude movies that are not easy to find on streaming
Yeah.
services unless you have to pay for them to rent them or whatever. So it's nice to have like the physical copies. I like having physical copies of movies more than streaming, anyways, personally. I
Yeah,
know you like
absolutely.
the physical copies too. Um,
Yeah.
but I found Maximum Risk there. And then I've been looking since we moved, I've been looking for months to try to find a physical copy of Lionheart. And they
Okay.
didn't have it. And one day I went in there, they finally had a copy of Lionheart and I snatched it. So I'm getting very close to having what I would call all the quintessential Jean-Claude Van
Ooh,
Damme movies up till like, I would say like the late 90s. I've got almost all of them now.
a complete, close to having the complete collection. Can we
Just
like,
about.
yeah, we could have an episode where we could share like our physical like media, either like of JCVD or Arnold
Yeah.
Schwarzenegger. Yeah,
The
that'd be fun.
question the question is, who do you like more, Arnold or JCVD?
Well, for me, um, that
We'll save that for another episode.
yeah, yeah,
We'll have to have some discussions about that because I'm really torn, man. I think I have my answer. I won't reveal it, but I think yeah. Anyways, we'll save it for another episode. That's
yeah.
fine. You don't have to give me an
Yeah.
answer now. Sorry, I didn't mean to go off on that tangent.
No,
Just it
this is
just started
good.
things started popping in my mind here.
Yeah, we just this generates all like sorts of like episode ideas for us. Like
Yeah.
just one focused on Arnold and JCVD. Be awesome.
And remember, people, for you watching or listening, this is how our phone conversations go. We start talking about something, and then that sends us off into a rabbit hole with something else, and that sends us somewhere else. And
Hmm.
it's
Yeah,
just this is how this podcast started. Phone
yeah,
conversations we recorded, basically.
absolutely, absolutely.
Yes, with much more structure now, I think. Um,
Uh,
anyways, but yeah, there's a lot. There's several other ones I know that you're
hmm?
really a fan of.
Yeah, but okay, because we were talking about Arnold and JCVD, there's this other one. It's called Dark Angel. It's also called, I remember when I first saw it, it was called I Come in Peace. I think you can see it on streaming if you look for it. But this is a Dolph Lundgren one.
Hmm.
And yeah, so I like Dolph Lundgren. I
Ah,
think
I do
he's
too.
yeah, he's pretty cool. And so this one's about this alien that comes and like he's killing a bunch aliens killing a bunch of like uh drug dealers. They're trying to figure out why. And it's not scary, but it is suspenseful. There's a lot of action. Um, and I think that the reason why the alien is killing people is there's something in people that he's extracting to make a drug.
Hmm.
But this is cool. You
Yeah,
gotta see that. So I
for
would
sure.
recommend this.
Yeah. Now, really quickly, Chris,
Mhm.
you have it written down here, so don't
Yeah,
please don't mind if I steal this from your part of your
please.
list. One show that I always, and we've talked about this kind of before, one show I never really got to watch when I was younger because back then you had to either set your VCR to record VHS tapes, or you had to be in front of your TV when it came on because there was no streaming service or DVDs. Was X Files.
Hmm.
I always thought it would have been a fascinating show to watch when I was younger. Never really got a chance to watch it, but I will say as an adult, I went back and watched the whole series. One year, many years ago, my wife bought me the entire show on Blu-ray to include the most recent stuff they made several years ago now, I guess. And I watched it from beginning to end, and I just absolutely fell in love with that show. I love, love, love X-Files. When I first started watching it, I don't know if this is the same way you felt when you watched X-Files. When I first started watching it, I had a concern that it was going to be too much just alien abduction episodes. But I love that they didn't do too much of it. It was always interwoven throughout the show, right? Because of Mulder's sister being abducted. That
Hmm.
was always a thing, and that was what drove him to go out and always explore and try to answer and solve all these X-File cases because what drove him was trying to find out what happened to his sister or see if his sister was still alive. And so the reason I bring that up is because you put this on here, and I'm glad you
Yeah.
did, because the X-Files is like a giant Halloween show.
Yeah.
I mean, there's so much. We could probably list 100 episodes of X-Files that are just perfect for this time of year to watch.
Yeah.
And I think of ones like the one where they find that mysterious black liquid down in that
Oh,
World War II plane
yeah.
in the ocean,
Yeah.
and it comes up and possesses people like Krychek and other characters. I think of the one where they find that kind of weird inbred family in that house that are
Oh,
all
yeah.
like, oh my
Oh.
gosh, that's like a horror, sci-fi, horror crossover episode that's super gross and creepy.
Hmm.
And like the mother's hiding under the bed. I think I've only watched that episode once. I don't know if I could watch it again. That episode in X Files for me is like the assignment for you of DS9. It really
Yeah.
it really gets to me. It really just yeah, I don't know if I could watch that episode again if I did a rewatch, but yeah, I'm glad you put this on there because X-Files to me is the perfect show this time of year to watch.
Yeah, I agree. And I have not gone back and watched the X-Files in several years. I'm glad you got to watch it recently. This is how I felt. I mean, I loved the X-Files. I would go out and I'd buy VHS copies of the X-File like episodes and like have those. I still have them.
Mm,
Um, I felt like I wanted to be Mulder. I don't know how
yeah,
you felt, but like
same.
I wanted to be Mulder. I was like that. I was like, yeah, I want to be Mulder. That's what I want to like do.
Yeah.
Um,
And nothing against Robert Patrick. I love Robert Patrick. He's such a great actor. I just didn't think, and he was great on X Files when
mm,
he came on the show. But the chemistry with John Doggett and Scully just didn't have the same feel, obviously, as Mulder and Scully, because the two of them together made the show. And again, nothing against Gillian Anderson. She's an incredible actress. She's done so many great stuff. Obviously, X Files being maybe the pinnacle thing she's done. But to me, when Duchovny left the show, and I know I'm
mhm.
not going to get into there's a lot of stuff out there as to why all that happened and everything else. And I know he came back. But to me, Mulder is what made X Files.
Yeah,
Because when Mulder left, the feel, the dynamic, everything about the show to me changed when his character left. And
yeah,
again, that's not a slight on Gillian Anderson. It's not a slight on Robert Patrick. They're both phenomenal actors. I love both of them, but it just didn't have the same chemistry as Scully and Mulder.
yeah. I agree. I agree. And I can't wait till we start like talking about X-Files more, and I'll
Dude,
go
I would
back and
love to do
yeah,
okay. I would love to do some deep dives on some of the episodes of X Files. There's so many ones out there, and
yeah,
so many of them are psychologically driven. As far as what we could discuss on a
yeah.
deep dive, I think that would be yeah. I look forward to the day we start introducing X Files into the podcast because it's such a beloved show and it's got such a massive following.
I can't wait to that either. So
Yeah,
I will
for sure.
start.
So
Yeah,
yeah, thank you for putting it on the list because I
yeah,
actually had
absolutely.
not I'd not thought to put it on there, and I don't know why.
I felt the kind of more modern. X-Files still feels modern to me. I know, even though
It
it was,
does. No, it does. I think
yeah,
partly is because they brought it back. So that's I
yeah,
think what, but it still feels modern. I mean, their cell phones would be outdated in today's world and cars and stuff like that. But a lot of it's I think very much holds up.
yeah, absolutely, absolutely. And there was another similar series that came out not too long ago called Fringe, and I've talked to you about it before, but I always felt that had the same feel, kind of same vibe as X-Files, where they're kind of investigating some uh very, very strange events, very kind of almost paranormal phenomenon. So Fringe
Yep.
was definitely up there with there. But yeah,
And
some
Fringe
other
was
yeah.
great. My wife
Yeah.
loved Fringe.
Oh, okay.
She really liked that. And I told her, I said, you should watch. I mean, she watched a couple episodes of X Files and said she didn't like it. She said it was boring or whatever. I'm like, what are you talking about?
Hmm.
But I did because so one of the ways in which I got her into Fringe, even though she'd never seen X Files, I told her I was like, or no, the other way around. One of the ways I got her to start watching X Files, but she gave up on it after a couple episodes. Like, no, you gotta give this show at least a season. It really gets going, but she didn't. Uh, One of the things I told her about X Files was is like Fringe was a modern, kind of a modernish version of X Files.
Yeah.
Definitely differences for sure, but there's a lot of similarities. And Fringe, I think, and I don't know how you feel about this. Fringe reminded me a lot of X Files when I first started watching it.
It did. That's how I felt. That's what it was like. It was giving me my like my what I my X-Files like feel. I was like, I need X-Files like
Nostalgia.
that.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. But I'm glad you feel like me. It was like I wanted to be Mulder. I felt like identified with Mulder for sure.
Yeah. Spooky Mulder, right? As they called him.
Hmm. Yeah.
Um, yeah, I mean, Duchovny was just, I mean, both Duchovny and Gillian Anderson were so good together. Duchovny, I mean, he played that role just so friggin' good. I mean, he really was fantastic. I know he wrote, I believe, several
Oh,
X-Files episodes. I know he had a big hand in a lot of that. He really got involved in the whole aspect of the show. I think he directed some too. I mean, he was really knee deep in that show. And when he left there for the last couple seasons, you could just tell the show
yeah.
just changed in a way that it was okay, but it just wasn't the same as the rest of the X Files. But yes,
Yeah.
Fringe is a great show. Another highly recommended show, I think, from both of us.
Nice. Nice. So I noted some things that like are not quite sci-fi, but kind of fall into that Halloween season. One that I I will definitely not watch myself, but is a I know there's a new version of the movie out right now, a third one, Terrifier and the Terrifier series. There's a Terrifier 3. So very, very spooky clown.
Oh
Clowns are
God.
spooky.
So
So
yeah. So
yeah.
basically it.
Yeah, I think there's a
Yeah.
demon clown that
Oh
like
my
that,
goodness. No,
that
I'm
kills
good.
kills
I'm
people.
good.
Yeah,
Clowns
so
don't scare me. They don't scare me, but I'm like, I don't need to watch some clown hack some dude up. I'm good.
that's yeah, like
Yeah.
same. But I understand people love those. Um, I recently saw Misery. Um, I'd never seen it, and so
No
happened to
idea
see
what it
it.
is.
Yeah. Oh, okay, it's based off a Stephen King book,
Mm.
and this is a writer that gets hurt in an accident, and then he gets rescued by his number one fan, and they're in Colorado. He gets hurt in a snowstorm, and it turns out his number one fan is insane.
Oh God.
And so
That
he's
would never happen in real life, would it? Like those crazy psycho fans of
yeah.
something or someone? Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
So
got to be
that's
based
what.
off of, maybe it's based off a true story. Stephen King had a psycho fan. I don't know. Which wouldn't be surprising. Stephen King is the king, literally, of horror, pun intended.
Ah.
Um, yeah, I was never like a big Stephen King fan, although I
Hmm?
really like Pet Cemetery and Pet Cemetery 2.
Mm.
Pet
Oh,
Cemetery 2
the
featured our
movies?
guy Ed. Yeah. The movies. I never read the books, but come on, Chris, it's me. I didn't read the books. Um, but Pet Cemetery 2 had our guy Edward Furlong from Terminator 2, John
Oh yeah.
Connor in
Yeah.
that it's another one of his great movies. But I liked both of them, but they're such good and Clancy Brown, who's a phenomenal actor, was also in Pet
Yeah.
Cemetery 2. But yeah, it's
Ah,
really good. I like those movies. I'm not big into the horror kind of stuff, but that scary things, those are kind of my movies that I like. If I
nice.
can mention a movie, Chris, that's
Yes,
wouldn't fall
please.
into sci-fi here as we're kind of wrapping up this episode. I mentioned it kind of before, the kind of the movies that I do like, which is What Lies Beneath. It's
Yeah.
not a horror, gory
Uh,
graphic. It's very suspenseful, very much a thriller. will make you jump in times. Will creep you out a little bit for sure, but not in the way like it's not like a Nightmare on Elm Street or Freddy Krueger, kind of Freddy Krueger stuff or
Hmm.
Jason Friday the 13th kind of thing. But it is a very suspenseful one, a movie that I think people would enjoy watching on Halloween with the lights off or the night before Halloween with the lights off. Very, very good. It's got Harrison Ford and Michelle Pfeiffer, so you can't go wrong there. Um,
Yeah.
my wife hates that movie because she hates anything. She does not like anything that even makes her jump or startle.
Oh,
But that movie is definitely on my list of thriller suspense movies I enjoy. What Lies Beneath?
nice. You check it out. It is good. I
Yeah.
remember it. Yeah, it's been many, many years since I've seen it, but it is a very good movie.
Yeah.
Yep. Nice. Nice. And we've got like a recent one that's out, Beetlejuice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We
I hope.
enjoyed it. We
Yeah.
had friends who said that they walked out
Oh,
on it
you
the first
saw it.
15 minutes. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, I saw it. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. We had friends that were like they walked out in the first 15 minutes because I thought it was so slow and boring. I'm like, oh, it is. So you saw it too, right?
No, no, I've seen Beetlejuice, but I haven't seen
Oh yeah, okay. You
Beetlejuice.
haven't said okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. We saw it the second weekend it was out. I will say yes. In the beginning, the movie's slow. It kind of is slow getting to the point, but we enjoyed it. We really did. We thought it was funny. It was very Tim Burton esque.
Hmm.
Michael Keaton was very funny in it. Winona Ryder was good in it, returning as her character, Catherine O'Hara, that kind of stuff. But yeah, it was worth it. I think. Now, was it as good as the first one? Of course not, but I still think it's worth your time.
Nice. Nice, nice.
Yeah.
Well, there's not so much movies, but just wrapping up like other Halloween activities I'm doing. I'm reading a short story novella like from the Arkham Horror Living card game called To Fight the Black Wind. And so if you're familiar with the Arkham Horror card game, I've actually never played it, but I have like I've got the game set, but I'm just enjoying reading that scary story. So that's fun. That's what I'm doing. And then I'll go back to reading some H.P. Lovecraft short stories there and enjoying those.
Nice. I've
Yeah.
got the one of my favorite authors, and maybe this is morbid that I admit this, but one of my favorite authors is Edgar Allan Poe.
Yeah.
And I've got his complete works. I should bust out and read some of that. Now, I do have a
Should.
book that is on my list of things to read that would be perfect to start reading this time of year. I do need to finish Matt Williams' Glimpses book. It's
Yeah.
I'm almost done with it. I need to finish it. It's such a great book. It's so good. But a book I've been wanting to read since I saw it on a list one day, and that is this book called The Luminous Dead. It's a very, very it sounds
Oh.
like a very suspenseful. It says in the back it's like a terrifying psychological and emotional journey of survival about these people in that I believe they're doing some drilling or digging in a cave or something. I don't know a whole lot about the book. I
Oh.
bought it quite a while back, just haven't read it yet. But
Yeah.
The Luminous Dead, from what I've heard, would be a book people recommend to read this time of year.
Nice.
So yeah, so books to read, tons of episodes of shows: Star Trek, Battlestar Galactica, X Files, Fringe, Doctor Who, movies. Some we may not recommend, like Event Horizon, unless you really like the gory stuff. There's so much on here. I think, Chris, I'm biased, of course, but I think this might be the pinnacle list if you're a science fiction fan of things to go watch or read as you prepare for this spooky time of the year.
Yeah. And this is a list that won't gross you out, which I like. This is
Yeah.
kind of if you're like
If you're like
Zach,
us and
yeah,
you don't
you're
like
like
horror,
us, right? Yeah. Yeah. Just be like, this is good. Doesn't
yeah.
need to gross, doesn't, you don't need to be grossed out to enjoy Halloween. So,
Exactly. I'm not into the gory Halloween, nasty, disgusting chainsaw, bloody guts. I've never been into that stuff really. I've always just been more into the like suspenseful thriller type stuff, like we mentioned.
yeah.
So it's and you and I are kind of on the same page with that, I think. And,
Yeah.
and and many of you may like the gory, gutsy stuff, and there's plenty of that horror stuff out there. If you like science fiction, however, we do have this list we've given to you during this episode, whether it's episodes, movies, TV show episodes and movies, or books or whatever. Certainly, I mean, there's definitely creepy video games. I'm playing a video game, although there's a glitch in the video game that they have to fix with a patch I'm waiting on. But there's a game that came out called Alone in the Dark, and
Oh,
it's a game I bought, and it's one of the characters is visually is based off of and voiced by David Harbour from Stranger Things and a bunch of other stuff.
yeah.
And it's basically this male and female character that go into this like haunted house, and they're having to explore this guy's really bizarre dreams and nightmares. And it's definitely a creepy game if you're looking at something to play this time of year. Alone in the Dark is a pretty new game, and I've enjoyed it so far until I got to a point where it won't let me get past. So hopefully they update the game
Yeah.
soon to fix that patch that issue up. But up until that point, I was actually very much enjoying the game. Very creepy, very like something startles you as you're playing it, kind of thing. And
Yeah.
there's a ton of video games out there that will do that. There's some alien games out there that will do that. Lots of stuff out there. If you don't watch something and you want to play something, plenty of video games to choose from.
Yeah, plenty of video games to choose from.
Yeah.
Yeah. I I'm not into the horror video games, like I know, but that's a big deal in video games. So
Yeah, it is. There's like a Friday the 13th video game you can play where one person is Jason, the other people are survivors, and you're like kind of fighting.
yeah.
I don't know. I've heard that's pretty popular too. But anyway, so we hope that this list we provided you of TV episodes, whether it's Star Trek, Battlestar Galactica, Doctor Who, X Files, you name it. We didn't give you specific episodes of X Files necessarily, but the show in general, Fringe, those kinds of things. And then the movies, the books, all those kinds of things. We've hoped that we've given you a ton of material to go out and watch, read, play, whatever, as we approach Halloween coming up here. At the time this episode premieres, about a week out or so, as we prepare for this, and even just the rest of fall time. We hope that this will enhance your viewing pleasures or whatever else you prefer
Yeah.
as we move into this season, as we get closer to Halloween. We hope that you enjoy all this. So it'd be good, Chris. There's several episodes I think that and movies maybe we want to go back and watch prior to Halloween ourselves.
Yeah, for sure we do. And then if our listeners, if you we didn't mention something and you have a recommendation for Zach and I to watch and then come talk about, we would love that.
Yeah.
Um, yeah. And then just know that Zach and I don't like have much of a stomach for gore, so we probably won't be able to watch gory stuff. So, but please feel free to suggest something, then we'll watch that.
Although, Chris, I would say if we made it through Event Horizon, we might be able to
Yeah.
tolerate a little bit more than we think. Like
Yeah.
maybe not as to that level, but maybe a little bit more. I don't
Maybe a
know.
little
I
bit more.
I still prefer non-gory stuff, honestly. I'd rather be spooked or scared or startled or whatever, thrilled than I would be just, grossed out. Because to me, gross isn't scary. It's just gross. So,
Yeah.
anyways, yeah. But, well, hey, everybody, thank you as always so much for watching and listening all over the globes and the interweb. We very much appreciate it. Again, be sure to go on Facebook and Instagram, follow us there. And on whatever other podcast platform you might be listening, be sure to like, follow, do the stars and the reviews, all that, all that jazz. If you're watching us on YouTube, same thing. Subscribe, hit the like button, all that. I'm not going to preach at you because you get enough people doing that to like, subscribe, blah. Anyways, we very much appreciate it as always, Chris, for sure.
Awesome. It's
Yeah.
so much fun. Thank you.
Yes. Thank you as always, everybody. Take care, and we'll catch you next time right here on the Random Redshirt podcast.